Hello there, I'm Paul. So the title of this live is Light and Dark Must Exist in Balance. Self-mastery means finding your balance in between. So that's going to kind of jar a few people that dark has to exist. Well, I'll tell you, I've had so many experiences in my life that I thought were really dark, wounding from my childhood, my mother having abuse, my ex-wife having abuse in their childhood. And I'm starting to get to the point now that I see that the dark is the lightest light. The things that smash us and we feel are dark and make us angry, frustrated, or broken basically bring us to a point that allows us to see a perfection eventually of everything that happens. And if you're in struggle right now, I don't expect you anywhere to know that, or you might hate it and to hear this or whatever, but the things that basically change me the most are the things that were dark. The things in this world. I've been dealing with credit issues since the CV and other things, and I've seen a real dark side of humanity, of lawyers, of people that are trying to take money and put us into slavery. But at the same time, it's also freed me from money. I can't have a credit card now, which is fine. As far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't want to pay 29% interest because the world basically stole my business and made it impossible for me to pay it back, even though I wanted to pay it back at the time. But when you have nothing, they can take nothing, which is another really powerful gift. When you lose your house, when you lose all the things that you anchor to as a human being, which give you this safety, but it also is like a chain around your neck of mortgage payments or rent payments and bills and property taxes and blah, 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 blah. Not to mention even things like leasing a car or putting it on time or these kind of things. These things basically just allow us to self-gratify early when we don't actually have the money for it, and then we get ourselves into trouble and we end up paying thousands and thousands and thousands, probably double what the price of the equipment was, because the system is designed that way, keeping a leash around our neck. So why do I call this self-mastery? Well, the entirety of the human experience is to find balance in being human. We're in a human body. We have emotions, we have fears, we have anger, we have frustration, we have all these things that basically pull us, drag us, subconsciously, unconsciously, based on past traumas, etc., that basically force us into making choices that are not well-reasoned or in balance. It's like, oh, I got to pay that bill or whatever because they're going to come after me and somebody's going to show up at my door and they're going to take me to prison. Well, that's a past life thing. That doesn't happen now. So we run with these traumas, these lineage traumas, epigenetics that are running in our system. Self-mastery is basically trying to find balance and not letting your nervous system run the show. I can speak openly about my struggles with nervous system regulation. I became a breathwork coach to help that, but every single day I deal with something in my nervous system that's scared. My dad used to yell at me over eating my vegetables, and I would, anytime somebody yelled, even not at me, out in the public or whatever, I'd cringe. Maybe you do that too. Or maybe you had a narcissistic mother that basically used her emotions to basically force you to back down all the time. My mother would just cry at the drop of a hat, and when she didn't get her way, she'd cry like a little child. But that's the only way she knew. That came from childhood and some of her wounding and other things. Eventually, I learned that that was a gift. I could be that man now and cry like a little child and whine and stuff like that and have temper tantrums all the time. didn't help me. And especially coming from a man, that's almost impossible to do because people just, what the frick is wrong with you? So each of these things I learned have taught me balance. I can sit in very triggered and very angry and sit with my emotion of being angry without being scared anymore. Because it's my birthright. I get to defend myself. And if somebody ever showed up at me and tried to attack me or whatever, an old part of me used to say, oh, I'd be just so scared and I can't defend myself. I would stand in my power. I've had it. A good example. I had a dog trying to attack me in the park. And I go for a walk in the park, and the owner was not a very nice person or whatever. It was an off-leash park or whatever, and the dog came up and started snapping at me and nipped at my butt. I could literally feel his teeth kind of go against the pocket of my blue jeans. And I turned around and I said, no. And if the dog wouldn't have backed off, he kept barking or whatever. And I went to the owner was standing there. He says, get rid of your dog. And he laughed at me like it was some joke. But I wouldn't have had a problem if ever. And I love dogs. But my dad used to be a runner and he got attacked by dogs on a regular basis. If you ever want to shut a dog down, and this isn't advice or whatever, but you hit them on the end of the nose, right on the thick on the end of the nose. Just whack. Their eyes will start watering and they can't even see, and they will stop. Yeah, it may make a dog angry, so I'm not recommending doing it, but if ever I get attacked by a dog, I will use that. But instead, my mind was trying to make stories about it, and it's like, oh, dogs are bad and all this kind of stuff. Bullshit. That one dog was bad, and it spoiled all dogs for me. So self-balance and self-mastery all of a sudden turns me into, what's the gift here? Why did that happen? Because we call in everything that we need to happen, taking our power back slowly and progressively, knowing that I could stand up and not run away from a dog, and the master would have been just laughing his head off because I ran away and his dog was just being so awful. But I stood up to it. I turned around with the risk. Maybe he was going to bite me or whatever, but nobody maybe had ever turned around to that dog before and basically told him no. And it didn't know what to do when that happened, but I told it, no, go away, go see your master. And the master just laughed. But what did I learn in that moment? I learned in that moment that I have power too. And I think that dog was hurt and wounded. The master obviously did something that caused them to do that and did not give good boundaries to that dog, just like a little child that doesn't have good boundaries. The dog trotted up to me, acted like it had a smile, and as soon as I put my hand out, just like this, calmly or whatever, he started barking and snarling, which terrified me. Probably would have terrified you too. But I learned something in that moment. It's like, okay, my fear gets me nothing. So that's my shadow, my dark side. But standing in fear and being careful, like I wouldn't stick my finger out and taunt him or whatever, because he'd probably bite me. I don't know. But I learned in that moment to stand in my power, stand in my boundaries and say no way. And how many people have ever given him boundaries? A dog that's like that doesn't have boundaries. It happens with people too. And the owner just chose to ridicule me and whatever. But if I would have videotaped that dog and basically sent that to the animal control, that dog would probably be put down. Not that I want that. But people get off on other people's fear, other people's anger, other people's frustration. And if you use it for you, it changes things. If it's like, oh, I'm scared of dogs and I'm never going back to the park and stuff like that, who won? Nobody won. So where do you consider dark as attacking you? This world's full of shadow and people that are kind of confused and taking money and stealing from people and other stuff. Where is it happening? And I'm going to make a really gentle suggestion that the darkest dark is the lightest light. The world's falling apart. I'm in Canada here, and we're about to have an election, and our leader has been basically giving all our money away and doing awful things to the country, and making unregulated immigration and other things that is bringing a huge amount of cultures into our country, and they're bribing them. They pay almost $30,000 for a person from another country to come and learn English. 10 grand is and this is true, and another 18 grand to come live in Canada. Well, sadly, when these people come to Canada, they realize that doesn't go very far. That'll barely buy you a car. What are you going to do for groceries and other things? And then they got to take jobs, and they got to learn the language, but meanwhile, they want to convert our country into their country, which is all done for a purpose. It's to confuse people and to distort us and basically not even feel welcome in our own country. Canada's always been a melting pot. I have absolutely no issue with immigration, but the immigration that's happening now is basically bribery to get them to come in and then put a load on our system. And the reason I know all these numbers is I met with a guy that's I met him in line at some store, and he's a bankruptcy trustee, and he's dealing with these immigrants on a daily basis. And he sees how the country's bribing them. They even pay for their rent and other things to get them to come to Canada. Why? To distort our freedom, to distort us, and to be the shadow in our world, and the frustration, and the people that don't know how to drive, and other things in a country that's a pretty good, safe, loving place for people. So as you walk each day and find self-love for yourself, self-love and self-mastery are the same things as far as I'm concerned. Because we have been taught to go into our hole, to go into our victim, to go into our shadow, which are all shadow and dark things, to feed a darkness that's outside of ourselves, that gets off on playing with people and contorting them and making them slaves. But when does the slave rise up? The point they're pissed off and they're angry and they're taking their power back and they're starting to say no more. And I believe we're at a point in this world right now where this no more is very important. And without our shadow, if we're over-rotated into good and we're really good and we're Christians or Muslim or whatever, not being sinners and following God's law or whatever, Allah's law or whatever, those rules were meant to segregate us and to subjugate us. So being too good or too light is just as bad as being too dark. You may not hurt anybody or whatever, but you're basically become a sheep. And I don't use that word lightly. But somebody that follows the beck and call of the dog that's running around the side and goes yipe, 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 and gets you to all go this way and go that way and go this way and go that way. We've allowed that too much. Our governments have too much to control. They feel that they get to choose for us. But you're a creator. You're a divine creator. And as you're finding your self-mastery and your balance between light and dark, everything will change. And when everything changes, your whole life will light up. You become self-mastered, you become self-loving, and everything will start to happen for you in the best way possible. And you deserve it. So, dark has a purpose. And we need to embody that side of ourselves, our power, our anger, our warrior, our whatever, as well as hold it in balance with our light. And yeah, you may over-rotate, you may yell at somebody, you may do something or whatever. Just have a lot of forgiveness for yourself, because we've sat as that meek little light person hiding in the corner for a long time. And our dark is the thing that's giving us the opportunity to change and find a balance and finally say, in my power, this is what I want. Not, I'd really like this and it would really feel nice or whatever. Well, people and governments and the controllers of this world have lived with us and pushed us into that far too long. It's up to you to make the choice. Do I stand in my power and I stand up to things and say no more of this bullshit and I'm going to change and the world's going to change? Boom. Has to. Because you're finally driving the boat. So, are you driving the boat? Try it. You'll be surprised. I love you all. Have a good day. You got this. Bye.